By 1857, the aggressive expansionist policies made by British over the years during the company rule adversely affected every single section of the Indian society. This led to one of the most important events of Indian history, the Revolt of 1857, also known as the First War of Independence or the Sepoy Mutiny. It was the first rebellion against the East India Company which became massive. The mutiny was suppressed, but it sent shockwaves to London and convinced the British that administration of India must be taken over by the crown. Of course, there were many causes and reasons, but you will study those aspects in detail when you study Indian history. But for now, we will stick to Indian polity. The Government of India Act of 1858, also known as the Act of Good Government of India, was enacted in the wake of the Revolt of 1857. It abolished the East India Company and transferred the powers of the government, territories, and revenues to the British Crown. The company rule ended in 1858 and then the Crown rule began. The Act provided that the Indian territories of Britain were supposed to be governed by and in the name of Her Majesty. The Act changed the designation of the Governor General of India to that of Viceroy of India. And the Viceroy would be the direct representative of the British Crown in India, and Lord Canning thus became the first Viceroy of India. The Government of India Act of 1858 ended the system of double government. What do we mean by the system of double government? It means the bodies such as the Board of Control and Court of Directors that were established under the Pitt's India Act of 1784 were abolished. These bodies ceased to exist. This act created a new office called the Secretary of State for India, who was vested with complete authority and control over Indian administration. The powers of the company's Court of Directors were vested with the Secretary of State for India. Thus, he was now the political head of India. This Secretary of State was to be a British MP and a member of the Prime Minister's cabinet. Who was the first Secretary of State for India? It was Lord Stanley. So if we have to analyze the impact of the Government of India Act of 1858, we can establish that it was more of a formal than a substantial change. The Crown had already steadily increased its control over the company's affairs since the beginning of its territorial sovereignty. The main rules under which India was governed before the passing of the Act of 1858 were already those of the British Parliament. The various statutes and charter acts that were passed earlier had already substantially reduced the influence of the East India Company. The Government of India Act of 1858 was largely confined to the improvement of the administrative machinery by which the Indian government was to be supervised and controlled in England. It did not alter in any substantial way the system of government that prevailed in India.